Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome into another edition of GC Live. I'm your host, Jack Veltri, joining you as always. Appreciate you guys following along with us and joining us for what is another edition of GC Live. But we are talking some Gamecock football with SEC football media days only a couple days away as the Gamecocks will be heading down to Tampa, Florida for the second day of a 4-day event with the rest of the SEC. And we're going to get into all that, previewing it to what we can expect, because as John commented earlier this morning, here's what to expect: a whole lot of nothing. It's all coach speak and player speak. I think I could agree to some extent. It's going to be a lot of national headlines because you got all members of the media from all over the country coming out to Tampa for this event. You'll get the local media gaggle, which hopefully will lead to some more exclusive, just different types of answers that you wouldn't hear at the main podium when Shane Beamer is talking and answering questions from all the national folks. But we'll get into what that may look like. I'll take you guys behind the scenes of what the event probably will be like, since I have been a couple of times now. But plenty to dive into. Kendall Smith, you may be wondering, where the heck is she? She did text me a few minutes ago. She is obviously a busy woman, and she's got some work going on. So she will be along here. I don't know when, hopefully here soon. She's just waiting to interview one of the White Sox new draft picks, Rock Chalowski, the number 1 overall pick. So that should be happening here soon. And then she'll be on here with us. So stay tuned. Hopefully Kendall will be able to join us. If not, you've got me taking you here the rest of the way. But let's go ahead and get some quick ad reads out of the way, thank our sponsors, and then we'll dive into everything. First off, cannot start the show without thanking our good friend Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. If you're in the market to buy a house or need help with your mortgage, any of those housing needs, you got to get in contact with our friend Clint. He is the man, the way to go if you are looking to buy a home or just need help with your mortgage. Any housing needs that create any confusion for you, get in contact with him at 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for him is 71597, or go to clinthammond.com for more information. He's been in the mortgage industry for over 20 years now. He's a lifelong Gamecock fan, as well as a longtime supporter of Gamecock Central and all of our GC Live programming. So get in contact with him. He's the best. He'll help you out, clear up any confusion you may have, and take you through the process step by step along the way. Thank you, Clint. All his information will be above us here on screen. And then let's get into a few more quick sponsors as we try to wait and see when Kendall Smith is going to be joining us. Hopefully, by the time I'm done reading all these ads that we would say from the middle of the show, she'll be on here hopefully soon. Rytech Electric, whether it is a last-minute repair before moving or a full wiring package on your latest build, Rytech Electric partners with the Carolinas' top production home builders and keeps everyday homeowners powered as well. Whether it's a flickering light or a dead outlet that can derail your morning routine, their same-day service and 1-year warranty mean that you'll never hunt for extension cords again. From turnkey new construction wiring to fast, friendly service calls, Rytech has you covered every step of the way. They're locally owned, based out in Lexington, right here in the Midlands area, and they've been serving Columbia as well as the Midlands area since 2007. They tell you the price before any work starts. That way there's no surprises. So give them a call at 1-803-303-8274, a real personal pickup, and tell them Gamecock Central sent you. One more ad read, then we're getting into everything else. Zen AI is the home of Vibecasting, a new way to capture and share conversations. They help anyone turn a conversation into something worth sharing, whether it's a podcast, reel, TikTok post. No production skills are required. The great thing about Zen AI is that it's portable. You can use it through your phone. It's produced. It's an AI producer that will be able to make the editing process much simpler for you. And best of all, it's quick. So Zen AI is currently in invite-only beta. So join the waitlist today for a chance at early access by going to zen.ai to sign up, or head on over to our show notes in the description of this stream for a direct link. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Hopefully you guys have stayed with me through that. And now we're going to get into the main topic of discussion today, which is SEC Media Days. Tuesday afternoon out in Tampa. I'm going to be driving down to Florida on Monday, getting ready to go for South Carolina to take part in Media Days with the same. It'll be Georgia, Vanderbilt, and who was the other team I just out? I had the other team in my head. Let me pull it up real quick. But anyway, South Carolina will be going on Tuesday, and so that should be a good time out there as I am just making sure I've got – so Auburn, Georgia, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. South Carolina will be going in the afternoon on Tuesday, so should be – think about like 3:30, I think, is the time that they will be out there on the podium. We'll have all this on GamecockCentral.com, how to watch, a whole guide and just what to kind of expect. But we're going to talk a lot about that here in the show. So Shane Beamer will obviously be out there. And then we learned the other day which players are going to be joining him out there in Tampa. It'll be, no surprise, quarterback Lenoris Sellers, who is at this event for the second year in a row. First-time attendees include wide receiver Nick Harbor, who is a senior, and then you have Peyton Williams, a defensive back that's been with the program for a couple of years now. He's been here his entire South Carolina career. And that's the main thing that stands out with the guys that Beamer is taking with him. The rare exception to what I'm talking about here is transfers, and that would be Spencer Rattler from a few years ago. I think it was 2022, I want to say. 2022 or 23. I can't remember the exact year, but one of those 2 years, Spencer Rattler was out there. And really, besides that, it's typically guys that have been with the program that for multiple years that go to these events. So no surprise there that Sellers is going. This is his second year in a row going to Media Days. It makes sense that you want your starting quarterback out there. There's no surprises that he'll be starting under center for the third year in a row now. And I do wonder because the it feels like the hype is different around him this time, because last year when we were getting ready to go to this event, he was being talked about as a potential Heisman candidate, Heisman favorite in some people's eyes, and then he made the SEC, the all SEC teams. So I think at the time he also made, I want to say it was first team all SEC, if I'm not mistaken, in the preseason. So he's a guy that last year the hype was real. I don't know what to expect necessarily this year. I think people still know he can be a really good quarterback, but obviously I don't think anyone's going to be talking about him as a Heisman Trophy winner, maybe a dark horse to win it this year, but things have got to improve a lot for him. So no surprise that he's going to be there, but I do wonder how the buzz will look around him. Obviously, he'll get a good media scrum around him when he's in. The way they have it set up is Shane will talk to the national media. He'll talk to the local media first, as well as the players in like a little room or whatever. Just real quick, media gaggle. He stands against the wall, and everyone, including myself, will all be around him, asking him like questions for 20 minutes. And then this is the way it went last year, at least. So I'm talking based off of past experience. And then they'll go downstairs to the main floor where there's dozens of chairs and media members sitting, and they'll have Shane at this massive podium answering questions for a little bit. And then afterwards, there are 3 separate small podiums off to the side where Lenoris, Harbor, and Peyton Williams will all be sitting, and media from there can go around and ask those guys questions. And Lenoris should have a big media contingent around him. I would also expect the same for Harbor. Definitely not as big as Lenoris, if I had to guess. But I think most people know Nick Harbor, and especially in media folks, like they know that this guy's the big, tall, fast receiver from South Carolina. The guy's got 99 speed in the college football video game. And then we'll see what happens to Peyton Williams. I'm sure he'll get some people coming over. It'd be good to ask him, from his standpoint of the South Carolina defense, since he is the only defender from the Gamecocks going, and he should be starting. John says, should have been Dylan Stewart. I disagree. Now, let's look at it this way. Obviously, he's the star, right? You want South Carolina's big 3, at least in my opinion. I think a lot of other people can speak to this as well. The big 3 for South Carolina in terms of stars are Sellers, Harbor, Stewart. Sellers is I would say he's gotten better at talking with the media, and so is Nick. Nick has definitely come a long way in terms of he was very shy and not very open when he first came here. Now he's doing like the 1801 media stuff. He's very like good on camera now, and he's gotten a lot better as a receiver too. So those two will be fine talking to the media. Stewart, on the other hand, he's not really the best talker, quite honestly. Just to be fully transparent, like he's a guy that you could maybe like and again, we really didn't. I don't even remember talking to him in a weekly media session, like after games. Sure, that's totally different. Like we're going to talk to him, but it's pretty short answers. It's not anything great. He's not the best on camera. But when you go to the look, he's going to be an NFL draft pick in about a year, and he's going to be dealing with the media all the time. So I think the way to look at it is eventually he's going to have to talk to the media. But for this event, look, it's a lot going on, so I can understand Shane deciding to bring someone else. But no, I definitely understand the sentiment, and yeah, like this will be the last time that Sellers, Harbor will be at media day if they have a good season. Off to the NFL. It's the same for Stewart. So I understand that taking the big three, but with Stewart, he's not the best talker. And if you want someone from the defense that can give you answers just on the whole, I think there's other guys. Peyton Williams is definitely a better guy. I don't know if he's the best talker. He's pretty good, but there are other guys like that you could have taken potentially. But Peyton's a good option for sure because he's definitely going to be a real contributor for South Carolina this upcoming season. And Adam asks a good question here. What is the best and worst part of SEC Media Days? So let's see. This is my third year going. So actually, I take that back. I think this is my third year. Okay. So 23, it was in, I want to say it was in Alabama. Or no, it was in Nashville. And then I did not go in 24 because it was out in Dallas. That was too far to travel for something you can basically cover on TV from home. And then last year it was in Atlanta. So I made the trip up there. I think I stayed with a friend. So there and back within a day. I would say now this will be my third trip going. The best part of it is the SEC always has a first class kind of setup there. So they'll have great food set up, drinks, all that stuff, and they have it in these cool little spots in these hotels. And there's just so much going on. The radio row is really cool to see, and you can just interview like coaches and players walking by and different media personalities. Like it's a lot, but it's pretty cool for sure. And it's always a well-ran event. So that's the one thing about the SEC, and I could speak to that for the SEC tournament with baseball and basketball, and I've never been to an SEC championship game, but with SEC Media Days, they run these things very well. So that's probably the best part about it. The worst part, I think this kind of goes back to something that I said before. It gets chaotic. Like there's a lot going on. Like I'm the type of person that I need to make sure that I'm on schedule and knowing where I'm going and where everything is. Like I don't want to get lost. That's my main thing. Somewhere I'm unfamiliar with, I don't want to get lost. Now luckily this year I am staying at the hotel where the whole event is going on. So I'll already be there parked and everything, and I'll be squared away in Tampa. So it should be fine knowing where everything is. And plus I'll be getting down there a little early I'll be there getting there Monday, but then I have radio on Tuesday with 107.5. So I'll be helping those guys out doing my normal 9 to 11. But yeah, I would say it could get chaotic. That's probably the worst part of it is just it can get a little chaotic at times, and you feel like you're really strapped for time. Like that's kind of how I felt last year when we're done talking to Beamer, and then it's like, all right, you gotta. And for me, I'm doing radio as well, so it's like, all right, like I can't be at two places at once. So I got work to do, but it's also like I got radio to do. So it can get chaotic, but it's such a well-ran event to where the SEC does a great job with the hospitality and getting everything set up nicely. So that's a lot of fun for sure. Plus seeing people I haven't seen in a little bit from other media outlets is always pretty cool as well. And yes, Big Bread, it will be televised. Thank you to Jeremy in the comments for answering the question there. It will be on SEC Network, I believe, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day. Again, it's a 4-day event. 4 teams will go on Monday, 4 more, including South Carolina, on Tuesday, 4 more on Wednesday, and then 4 to round it out on Thursday. We'll hear from Greg Sankey at this event. I know for sure to open things up at 9 a.m. on Monday, but after that, I'm sure he'll speak a couple more times. But and I'm only going to be really down there for Tuesday. Like, I'm staying in Tampa Monday to Wednesday. I don't think I'm going to be making it out there on Monday, really, because I'm driving up. It's about 7.5, 8 hours for me from Columbia. And then Tuesday I'll be there all day. And then Wednesday I'm heading on back. So, but we'll have plenty of coverage on GamecockCentral.com for myself and some others helping us out from afar. But I'm the only one going from Central. And Big Red brings up a good point here. Hype is the name of the game at media days. Take the people that will pump up the program the most. That's the most logical decision. Yeah, to some degree, because when you look at media days, it's not, I mean, it's so much different from like the local media day where you get to talk to any players and it's the local media talking with Beamer. It's very it's a very national centric focus, I think. Like, a lot of the questions you're going to hear, if it's not from the local media gaggle in the national scrum where Beamer's taking questions at the big podium on SEC Network, it's going to be a lot of questions about, as we get into what may really be talked about at this event, it's going to be the pressure that South Carolina is facing after a 4-8 season in 2025. So the expectations that come this year, is Beamer feeling the hot seat? I think questions like that are what you can expect from national folks. And shoot, there may even be questions about that in the local media scrum for sure. Like, it's a topic that's pretty much unavoidable at this point. Because I think it is fair to say, right or wrong, that there is pressure on South Carolina this year, and more specifically, pressure on Shane Beamer, who you could say is potentially coaching for his job this year if things don't go well. If they're similar to last year, I'll be very interested to see where things end up going after the season ends, or heck, during the year if things go really bad. But we'll see what happens there. There's going to be other questions, I'm sure, about the Kendall Briles offense, bringing him in as the offensive coordinator, what that may look like for Lenoris and the playmakers on this offense. There's going to be a lot of questions about that for sure. Trying to think of like some other topics that will probably be brought up, but that's really the main stuff. There'll be questions about Lenoris, obviously, and what to expect out of him. But usually at this event, it's going to be big picture type of questions. That's really how it goes. You'll get questions from the national media folks and these pressers with the podium and whatnot about, like, if they cover, like, I remember going 23, and I think this, or maybe it was last year, I can't remember. It was one of the years where Oklahoma was in the SEC, was joining the SEC, and I think there were some questions from Oklahoma media outlets to Beamer about getting to play Oklahoma and all that. So there's going to be stuff like that too here. And then we also should get some injury updates on the big names like Jacarius Peak and Dylan Stewart, who I think that also makes sense for why he's not going to be at this event. Number one, the main reason is he's not the best talker. But the other thing that is, something that would, he obviously is recovering from the injury that he got last year. So that's something that I don't think, even if Dylan was a great talker, I still don't think he would be going to media days because of the injury and whatnot. So we should get the latest update from Beamer on the timeline with that, because fall camp it should be starting. We haven't gotten the official schedule yet, but Gamecocks line posted something a few weeks ago that the players should report on August 6th, and then camp should get rolling on August 7th. So it is July 16th. We're talking about 3 weeks from tomorrow, I think it is, that the first day of preseason camp should get rolling. So, yeah, it's a couple weeks away, and we should know more on, like, okay, are you expecting Peak, Stewart to be ready for camp? Is it going to be the start of the season? Is it going to be a few weeks into the season? We should get a little bit more clarity on that when we're out there on Tuesday. For sure in the local media scrum, it might get brought up again when the national folks are talking with Beamer. But, yeah, and there's going to be a lot of different ways you can see Shane and the players talking. There's going to be Radio Row, where after they're done with the national folks in the main room, they'll go to Radio Row. They'll go on SEC Network with the crew there. I mean, there's just so many different things that are going to be going on. They're going to be out there for a few hours answering a lot of questions, and there will be a lot of ways to take that in. But, of course, on GamecockCentral.com, we will have you guys covered as much as possible. And, yes, I'm glad this question got asked by Big Red here. Do people do their preseason rankings at media days? Yes. The way it works is that there will be the preseason media poll, where I think I did this last year, and I think I also did in 23. You can vote, media members, that is, will vote on what the order of teams will be in the rankings for the SEC. So 1 through 16, who's going to finish where. The projected order of finish is what I think what they call it. And then you will have your SEC champion, preseason favorite, and then you'll have your all SEC teams, which will be all SEC first team, all SEC second team, and all SEC third team. If I had to take a guess right now, I would imagine that you're going to see Dylan Stewart on there for sure. Probably first team, if not second team. I'd guess that Vicari Swain will probably be on there as a specialist. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. I will vote for him, worst case, as an all SEC specialist. And then I'll be interested to see if Norris is going to make it. I think he will, but there's some good quarterbacks in this conference. There's a lot of unproven quarterbacks too, which makes it more interesting because Norris is one of the more experienced starters in this conference with this will be his third year now starting. He's made over 20 plus starts in his career. Like, he's going to be a guy that should probably make it. I would lean towards maybe he's like the third team. If he doesn't make it, it wouldn't be the craziest thing, because there are like John Mateer, Trinidad Chambliss, Gunnar Stockton, Arch Manning. But do these things really mean much at the end of the day? No, it just tells us what the media thinks of South Carolina and the rest of these teams in the conference. South Carolina was picked to finish 5th in the SEC last year, and we know how that turned out. If you had to ask me right now, I don't know how I would pick them necessarily yet. I haven't thought too much about it yet. I would say South Carolina is probably going to be somewhere between 10 to like 13. If I had to guess, I would say probably closer to 10, but I think they could easily be like 11, 12, maybe 13. I don't see them being any lower than that. I think Mississippi State, Kentucky, Auburn, teams like that will probably be picked towards the bottom of the SEC just because new coach Arkansas will be down there. So those 4 teams will probably make up 16 to, I guess it would be 13. And then South Carolina should be somewhere right over there. But I'm not expecting them to be inside the top 10. I'd be pretty shocked if that were the case. Big Red has another question here. Do people talk about commits, or is it more about the current roster? Current roster. The coaches are not allowed to talk about commits by name until they sign. That's what the signing day press conference is for, when there are all sorts of questions. It's usually in January after the season ends, or if they're preparing for a bowl game or whatever. That's when the national signing day press conference will be. And that is when you can talk about guys that are committed, that signed with the program. But it is going to be about the current roster. It's going to be about the upcoming season ahead. Though I can't imagine there are going to be a lot of questions about last season for South Carolina and why things went the way they did and what's going to be different heading into this year. But again, it should be a lot of different national type of big picture questions, but there'll also be maybe, especially in the local media and in small group settings, it should be some, I think Wes put it a good way this morning on 107.5. Like, it's going to be like 90% big picture questions. Then the 10% of questions will be, and answers will be about just stuff that is on a smaller scale, not huge picture. What's South Carolina going to do in 2026? Where will South Carolina be predicted? I talked about this a second ago, but I think somewhere between 10 to like 12, maybe 13, maybe. We'll see. I can only see a few teams being ranked below South Carolina, like Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi State, maybe Auburn, and then probably South Carolina if I had to take a guess. Big Red asks, is it better to be picked lower in preseason rankings and surprise everyone, or ranked higher and ride the wave? So South Carolina was picked higher, and then they underperformed drastically. I would say for Carolina, it's better to be picked lower in the preseason ranking and then go out there and surprise everyone. it wouldn't surprise me if South Carolina has a much better season. Like if they're picked 10 or 12, I think they will definitely finish higher for sure. I think they'll have a pretty good year where at best, and maybe this is something we talk about in a future episode a little bit more in depth. I think I'll definitely have a story on it eventually. I think South Carolina could end up having at best like a 9-3. I don't want to say 10-2. I don't know if that's realistic, but I think 9-3 is definitely like like the ceiling for this program. But I could also definitely see a way in which this team misses a bowl game. Like it's all about, for me, the start that they get off to this season. Like the first 6 games of the year, Kent State, Towson, Mississippi State. Those are 3 home games to start the year. I think they should be 3-0 in those games, right? We'll see about Mississippi State. Don't know what they're going to look like just yet in year 3 now under Jeff Lebby. And then you go on the road to Alabama. I could see that totally being a loss. But I could see that maybe winning that game, sneaking it out. It is a night game in Tuscaloosa, so that one might be tricky. South Carolina has played Alabama pretty well the last 2 years. Then you're home versus Kentucky to start the month of October. Then your final game before the bye week is Florida on the road. I could see South Carolina going 4-2 in those games, maybe 5-1. But anything worse, and I think you're setting yourself up for what could end up being another tough season, because I say those 6 games matter the most. The back half of the schedule after the bye week is brutal, to where you're potentially playing 5 teams that are going to be in the top 25. I'm talking like home versus Tennessee, on the road at Oklahoma on Halloween. You're going to be playing Georgia at home, A&M at home, 2 playoff teams right there that should be inside the top 10 at that point in the year, November. You're going to have Arkansas, and then you'll also have Clemson at the end of the year. So, yeah, it's going to be – the front half of the schedule is a lot easier, but the back half, it could be a little bit tougher. So, as we are finally joined by Kendall Smith, what's your excuse? What's your excuse?
Okay, so this is a valid excuse. So the White Sox are having draft camp here in Charlotte, and I just interviewed Rock Chalowski, who was the number 1 overall pick in the MLB draft last Saturday. So I feel like it's valid.
It's okay. I explained it to our
Jack
viewers.
being quiet and being like, no, you're not valid.
No. It's all good. Where are you at right now? Are you in like a room, or are you in like the tunnel? Like, where are you at?
Yeah, I'm in a room. I'm in like a suite type of room. Why is it echoing?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I just wasn't sure where you were at, because I think you were just on the move there. But how's it going?
Yeah. It's good. It's good. I just want to pop in here quick. I know you're probably almost done with the show, but I felt bad. I'm like, I had these interviews and we were just getting after the interviews. So I wanted to hop in because next week you will be at Media Days, but we'll recap it once it's done.
Yeah, we'll recap it when I get back from Tampa. I will say there. I got a question in here earlier, Kendall, that I think you could also answer. What is the best and worst part of SEC Media Days? Because you went in 22, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think the best part is just like the extremity of the event, for lack of a better term, like the bigness of the event. It's so fun to be able to see everybody. I mean, SEC Network is there. You've got a bunch of different coaches, players. There's something happening at every turn, every corner. So I feel like that is the best part of it, because it's just the one time a year where everyone kind of gets together. You go to dinners with a lot of other media people while you're in town. It's just kind of a fun start to the season. So for me, that's my favorite part. The worst part about it, and this is like no shade or tea or disrespect, but it's just all of the narratives that kind of get repeated. If you're working locally for a team, as Jack does, as I did, you know a lot about the team and you know those stories that the national media is going to just latch to. And you feel like sometimes there are questions or things being talked about that you've already talked about multiple times with any given player or Shane Beamer. So I feel like that's probably the hardest part, is there is such a divide between the local people and the national people in terms of the stories they're trying to get, what they're trying to go for when they're asking questions. So I think that's probably the toughest part. And again, it's not bad. Like, media has so many teams because we only focused on South Carolina. So it's just different. But I think that is probably the most difficult part of SEC Media Days. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, totally. And I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulties with you, Kendall, but we'll try to get through it here. Yeah, no, I think for sure. I talked about it earlier. I think with media days, the best part is probably just how well ran the whole thing is. There's a lot going on, which I think is also the worst part of it is that there's so much going on at this event to where it can feel chaotic, but the SEC always does a pretty good job of having a set schedule, keeping everything in order. So it ends up being a good time for sure. Like you said, Kendall. Kendall, when you look at this event, what are you expecting to be the main takeaways, main headlines for South Carolina? Like, there's going to be a lot of big picture questions here from the national media. There's going to be stuff about Beamer and the pressure that he's facing this year. There's going to be stuff about this offense, Lenore's, etc. What are you thinking is going to be the big picture takeaway from this event?
Well, I think it's exactly what you just said. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Am I good? Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it's exactly what you just said. I think when you're looking big picture, it's going to be about Shane Beamer. And if this season doesn't go well, will there need to be another voice in the room, so to speak, for South Carolina? I think it will be about not just Lenora Sellers, but you're talking about a lot of these guys that are returning to South Carolina. I think Nick Harbor will be a story for sure when it comes to media days. Just how is South Carolina going to right the ship and get things back on track after a season that was a massive failure last year in a lot of people's, minds. So that to me is the big picture. You're going to get into some smaller things as well. I think the offensive line needs to be a big point of discussion. And I know we've talked about that a lot on the show. I don't know if that's going to be a national media discussion. I think that's probably something that will be left more towards the local people in Columbia. But nationally, we all know what is going to get people's attention. And that's anytime a coach is on the hot seat. And they are going to be saying Shane Beamer is on the hot seat. And if they don't have a good year, what are they going to do? I think a lot of questions will also focus on what we've talked about, Jack, which is what is a successful year for South Carolina? Is it making it to a bowl game? Is it a minimum of 8 wins? Is it the college football playoff? What does success look like for Shane Beamer to keep his job? Because South Carolina is such a unique program in the sense of there are super high expectations for South Carolina, and rightfully so. But South Carolina doesn't necessarily have like the same level when it comes to a team like Alabama or Georgia in terms of championships and things that they've won. So that is going to be what I'm most interested to hear is what is success this year. Of course, Shane Beamer is going to say to him, it's making the college football playoff. That's the only way a lot of these coaches will define success. But is that really realistic success for South Carolina? I'm not saying they can't, but if they don't make it, are you firing Shane Beamer? And I think that's going to be a lot of what the questions are focused on from a national standpoint at media days.
Yeah, and I think he brought this up a few times at the end of last season when we knew things were going bad for South Carolina to where it was irreparable during last season. He mentioned it like this time next year, South Carolina is going to be in the mix for the college football playoff. They'll be in the ranking shows, all that sort of stuff. Do you think because he went out there and said that multiple times in media settings that should be the expectation for this program, or do you hold that against him at the end of the year? I mean, what do you think about that standpoint from looking at it that way?
I don't think you hold it against him at the end of the year because he didn't have anything else to say in that situation. What's he going to say? Yeah, I know we didn't have a good year, but hopefully next year 6 wins. Hopefully next year 7 wins. Like he's not going to say that. So of course, him or any coach in their right mind will sit there and say, yeah, our goal next year is to make the college football playoff. I think he did say guarantee, which, people are going to
we'll see how that goes
against him. But I understood overall what he was saying, and I would rather have a coach say that or something along those lines than say, we'll try to be a little better next year. So I think it's not really fair to hold that standard, especially with the way the college football playoff works. And this is just like so much of just speculation at this point. So like, we don't know how South Carolina's season will go. Will they be close to other teams in the rankings? How will the committee decide? So many things could play into this. So I don't want to speculate too much. but I think you can't really use that against him in full. If South Carolina is a 8-9 win season, I think you consider that a success if you're South Carolina, and you can't go back and say, oh, well, Shane, you said we would be in the college football playoff this year. Because also that's easy to say way far out in advance, but you never know how a season is going to go. You don't know if you're going to get an undefeated team like Indiana, or a couple years back, I remember it was one of those seasons where like ranked teams were beating ranked teams and there were upsets, and it was just kind of all over the map. So you don't know what kind of season you're going to get from the other teams. Unfortunately, you can only control what you can control. So to answer your question in a long-winded way, I think no, you can't hold that 100% against him, but we've talked about this. Like, I think it has to be a minimum of 7 wins for Beamer this year. But I could see a world if it is 6 wins where he does stay.
One more question for you, Kendall, before we get you on out of here, and then we wrap up the show. Lenoris, he's going to get a lot of questions when he's out here talking to the media and whatnot. Last year, the expectations were hold on one second. I think mute your mic for a second. All right, now we're good. Now we're good. I'll turn it back. I'll turn your mic back on. In a second. Turn your mic off real quick. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. All right, good. Because there was a lot of background noise there. So we'll talk in a second. So my question is for you before we get on out of here. Lenoris, there's going to be a lot of buzz around him. He'll have a big media scrum there around him when he's on the podium with the national folks and whatnot. But does this year to you feel different? Because does it feel like there's still the same type of buzz as opposed to last year coming into this event for the first time for him? He was viewed as a Heisman favorite potentially. He was on the All-SEC team. I believe he's on the All-SEC first team at quarterback. Like, there was a lot of buzz around him. So I guess my question is, does it feel the same this year? And if it doesn't, do you feel like that's going to benefit him kind of flying a little bit more under the radar?
I don't think there's the same buzz going into this year. If it's buzz, it's probably more of like a negative buzz, unfortunately, around South Carolina, or maybe a more questioning type of buzz. So I think for him, because he's like very calm, cool, collected. I remember him being at South Carolina like in the spring when we were seniors, and he was really chill. I haven't talked to him in a few years, obviously, and I'm not claiming to know Lenoris personally, but he seems composed. So I think for him, it's one of those things where, yeah, maybe a little less pressure and kind of having that underdog mentality of like, people are counting us out. They don't think we're going to be the team we were supposed to be even last year, whatever it might be. Maybe that benefits him. But I also think he's just the type that maybe doesn't even really get too rattled anyways by what the media has to say, because we've also had these conversations. People can say what they want about Lenoris. I agree. I think last year was not his best, and it didn't live up to the expectations people had set. But there are a lot of other factors that went into last season. I think his confidence is probably higher having a guy like Kendall Briles that's designing an offense that is literally tailored to make him look good and to bring out the qualities that he does best. It's helpful that hopefully the offensive line will be improved for him this year. So there are a lot of factors that went into last season, and hopefully he knows this too, that again, we're a little bit out of his control as well. So I think the buzz is less around South Carolina this year. It's not going to be very positive. But I think for him, as like the player that he is, and just from what I remember in covering him, it's probably one of those things where it's just like, he's been here, he's a leader, he's done this. It sounds corny, but the outside noise is the outside noise. And I'm sure he's just focused on, all right, how am I going to get this team to X amount of wins or the college football playoff or whatever it might be.
Totally. So, Kendall, any final thoughts before we get you on out of here? I know you're a busy woman, so not going to take up too much more of your time.
I feel bad that I was late, so I'm sorry. Now I'm running off to go catch a flight. So it's just like all over the place, but I'm glad I was able to hop in and talk with you guys. And yeah, next week we'll sit down. We'll have a proper conversation after media days, which are on Tuesday, right, Jack?
Yep, Tuesday. Tuesday, South Carolina goes.
Yeah. So we can chat next week, Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or at some point, because I want to hear about all of it from your perspective. And I'm so jealous it's in Tampa. That is so like rude. I'm so mad that it wasn't in Tampa when I was going. I would have been thrilled.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun out there in Tampa, but you're going on a nice vacation. So you'll be fine. So, but Kendall, thank you again for hopping in, and we'll talk to you next week. So we're going to thank you, Kendall, for joining us here for a little bit. Typically, she's the one hosting the show, and it's roles reversed, kind of. So I'm kind of taking the wheel here and moving things along. But yeah, no, it's great to have her in here for a little bit and giving some good insight. She gave some great answers, which is always good to hear her perspective on things because she has just as good of a perspective on the big picture for South Carolina, just like me or anyone. But we're going to start wrapping up here soon. We'll take a few more questions here. Big Red says, do some preseason polls having us ranked in the top 25 affect how people perceive South Carolina in the SEC? I have seen South Carolina in some of these like FPI, all these types of different polls. I'll be interested to see where they are in the AP poll. I don't really care for the AP poll or USA Today or any of that stuff because really the only poll that matters at the end of the day is like when you get to the midway point in the year, the college football playoff rankings come out. That's the only one that matters. So, and I could see a way in which South Carolina is ranked at the start of the year. Do I think that affects how people perceive them? Not really, because I think you look at it like there's so much unknown because these rosters are so different. There's so many different transfers on these teams and whatnot, and South Carolina is no exception. It's too early to know what South Carolina is going to be like. So because of that, you're going to have a lot of people putting them probably towards the back of the SEC preseason poll based on last year, even though I don't think that's a fair way to do it. It's just the way it is. And that's how it's going to go for these other teams in the conference too, even though most of them have undergone a ton of changes. Like someone's got to be towards the back of the poll, and it's going to be teams like Mississippi State, Kentucky, Arkansas, all three who have new head coaches. Auburn, coming off a disappointing season. They have a new head coach as well. South Carolina returns Shane Beamer for year 6. He's coming off a disappointing season. So those teams are going to be back of the poll for that reason. So I don't think whether they're in a top 25 ranking or not is going to change the way people look at South Carolina. You got to go out there and earn it this season. That's kind of the way I look at it. One more question here from Big Red. Why does Shane Beamer's record seem to be taken differently than Spurrier? Didn't it take Spurrier a long time to build his 11-win teams? It seems Shane has been given the same amount of grace. I would agree to some degree. I was not covering. I was probably – so Spurrier started in 2005. He didn't reach his first big 11-win season until 2011. Of course, 2010, they made it to the SEC championship. I was like in my youth, like from 2005 to 2011, I was 5 to 11 years old. So I was not watching South Carolina at the time. I was living in New York at the time. So I was not aware of South Carolina or Steve Spurrier or anything going on. That said, now that I am on the beat here, I obviously do know more about what it was like back then, but I can't really speak to it to the full extent because I wasn't around back then. I would say this, I think better, people that have been in the media longer probably could give a better answer to this than I could. But I will say from just covering Shane here the last couple of years, it does feel like he hasn't really been given much grace because, look at it this way. It's been very up and down his tenure. Year 1 and 2, I think those were both big successes. You won 7 games in 21 as in this first year, and you won a bowl game when I think you were not supposed to make a bowl game. You were not supposed to be good after the 2020 season where you only won 2 games. 22 took a big step forward, picked up 2 monumental, arguably the best wins of his tenure with top 10 wins over Tennessee and Clemson to get you to the Gator Bowl where you lost to Notre Dame. That was arguably his best season. 23 was super disappointing because they went 5-7, missed the bowl game. 24 was resurgence, big step in the right direction, on the doorstep of the college football playoff, 9-win year, won 6 straight to end the regular season. That was probably his best season. And then last year was a massive step back. Arguably, I won't say arguably, it was the worst season of his tenure at South Carolina, going 4-8, having to fire a bunch of coaches during the year, having to make a lot of changes. You don't do that stuff when things are going well. It got to a point where obviously they had to make changes, and they certainly did, where things look a lot different. And to me, this does feel like a boom or bust type of year. Like you got to go big or go home. And if they don't make a bowl game, I don't know what happens with Beamer. Quite honestly, I see a way in which he sticks around for another year, just based on the fact that you have so many new coaches, and it does take time for a new type of offense to develop. But still, there's a lot of pressure on Shane this year. And I think, with Spurrier, I think it's different because, sure, South Carolina made some bowl games in those first couple of years, and there were some ups and some downs, but I feel like it was an upward trajectory. With Beamer, it's way too inconsistent to where they're good for they're good for a year, they're bad. They're good, they're bad. It's the even odd year thing. In odd years, they have not been good. In even years, they're typically pretty good. 22, they were good. 24, they were good. What are they going to be in 26? We'll find out here in a few weeks when the season does get going. Adam asks, as we start to wrap up here, what place am I looking forward to in Tampa? Not really sure, to be honest. Now, I say that because I love Tampa. I think it's awesome out there. I got engaged at Clearwater Beach right near Tampa a couple months ago with my now fiance. So I'm very familiar with the Tampa area. It's very nice out there. I'm looking forward to just being out there. I think the hotel where I'm staying at is right on the water, so that should be pretty cool to see. And I think it's in the city too, so I'm looking forward to getting to explore Tampa a little bit. Did not really get to do that when I got engaged. It was out in Tampa or in Clearwater for a few days, and then I surprised my fiance with a trip to Orlando to go stay at Disney for a few days. So did not really get to spend much time out in Tampa, but that will change this time around as I'm out there for a couple of days. Don't really know where I'm going to go yet. Will I go surfing out there? I don't know how to surf. Will I go to the beach? I would probably say no. Will I pack a swimsuit? Potentially. We'll see. Maybe I'll go to the beach. I don't know. I would like to go to Clearwater one day while I'm out there. Go reminisce about the whole proposal and whatnot. That would be fun. Because I feel like we did not spend nearly enough time out in Clearwater, even though we were only out there for a few days. Let's see. What else do we have here question-wise? And Adam says, don't forget to visit Buc-ee's. We'll see. We'll see. I might make a trip down to Buc-ee's if I need gas or something. I know there will be a few out in Florida. What other games will I be watching? First game, mine is Clemson and LSU. Adam says, yeah, week 1, I'll probably watch Clemson LSU. I think that'll be a good game for sure. I think Ohio State and Texas play the following week, if I'm not mistaken. That would be another game eventually. But, yeah, I haven't looked too much at the week 1 schedule lately. But I know there will be some good games to watch during that Labor Day holiday weekend. And then as we kind of wrap up here a little bit more, Big Red asks, will I blog the SEC Media Days experience? I haven't done one in a little bit. I stopped doing them after football season. I don't know if I'm going to do them during football. I don't know if I'm really going to do them much anymore, honestly. Maybe if that's something you guys want, let me know. You can let me know on Gamecock Central in the comments here, whatever. I'll be happy to take any requests that you guys have. I would say probably not, because it does get pretty busy. I don't know. I didn't do them at all during baseball season. They're just a lot with other things going on when, I'm doing my job and whatnot. If I were just there, just to be there, yeah, I would probably do it. But, I do have to write and do other things. So probably not. And it's honestly not too thrilling anyway. It's just a bunch of interviews and whatnot. And maybe the other experiences being out in Tampa, maybe, but I'm not really planning on it right now. I was not planning on it at the moment. And then Big Red asks the final question here before we get on out of here. How is Wedding Watch going? Well, currently if you can see the background, I talked about this the other day with Ethan on GC Live, but I am currently at my new place out here in Irmo. So Caroline and I, we got a little townhome rented out, and so we're out here. We have a ton of boxes in here, so we're not all moved in. Caroline's still got to get her stuff down here on Saturday, so I'll be spending my weekend doing more unpacking and whatnot. I was just doing that before, so I'm going back to do that once I get out of here off this stream. But Wedding Watch is going good. Haven't done much lately. We have got the venue. We've got the reception venue, the church, all figured out. We have the date, July 10th, 2027. So that is confirmed in the books. And then we'll have more to plan out in the coming weeks and months. So that is your latest update on everything going on. And Adam, thank you for the advice. Don't hurt your back moving. Yeah, I'm going to try to not hurt myself. So we will see where we go from here. But appreciate you guys joining we have one more question. I'll answer one more question. Why not? If you guys have any more questions, feel free. Get your last questions in if you have any, because I will go through. I can't leave my guy Michael Ray off here. You think Vicari will finally blow up this year? I mean, he kind of blew up a little bit last year, I'd say, where he had the three punt return touchdowns. So I think defensively, yeah, if he takes a huge step forward at DB, totally. I think that's the thing. He's got to put it together all the way. Like specialist, we know what he can do. He's fast. He's quick. He's one of the best specialists out there. How is he going to be at DB this year? I think is the big question. So, yeah, no problem, Michael. Appreciate the question. It was a good one for sure. All right, we're getting on out of here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, I will be out in Tampa Monday to Wednesday for SEC Media Days next week. So I'll be out there providing you guys with plenty of insight, coverage, all that good stuff. Shane Beamer, Nick Harbor, Lenore Sellers, Peyton Williams will all be out there talking with us and the national media folks. And we'll have plenty to discuss next time we're on here on GC Live with me and Kendall when I return from Tampa next week. So appreciate you guys as always. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend ahead, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.